I really appreciate you taking the time to sit with me. I'm not sure that we have something that can help you, but let me tell you the areas we work in. We work to reduce your debt, reduce your taxes, and increase your cash flow. Our goal is to help you achieve financial independence. FFG is a national company with 73 offices. We represent large financial institutions and life insurance companies. Some of them over 100 years old and have billions of dollars in assets. Let me tell you something about myself. I started in the financial services industry in 1958. I've run a number of companies. I've employed dozens and dozens of people. I paid salaries, payroll taxes, rent, and insurance. So I know a little bit about reducing debt, reducing taxes, and increasing cash flow. What we're going to talk about today are some of the issues and challenges that people face today. We know that over the last 10 years, incomes have risen, but so is inflation, right? People are saving less and spending more. Right now, consumer debt is over $8 trillion. Our national debt is fast approaching $18 trillion. What this means is that out of 100 people turning 65 today, only 4, maybe 5 have what the government considers to be adequate income. And we're only talking about $3,000 a month. So what are the other 94 and 96 people doing? They may be living on less, which means they may not be able to keep the house they love. They may not be able to fill the prescriptions that they need. 60 Minutes did a piece last year about seniors eating dog food and cat food to survive. They may have to rely on their kids, either living with them or taking money from them. They may have to rely on charity, Meals on Wheels, seniors helping seniors, church charities, or possibly government programs. And the fourth and most likely option is that they either never stop working or they have to go back to work. And we see this every day, don't we? Walmart, Publix, lots of seniors out there working. Let me tell you something. I was in Wendy's last week in Tamarack, and here was this woman. She was an older woman. She had to be in her late 70s, and I saw her cleaning the table. And then when I looked around again, she's on her hands and knees scraping gum off the floor. Now, how much could she possibly be making there? $500 or $600 a month? That tells me that the difference between her sitting by the pool talking to her friends, or enjoying her grandchildren, or working at Wendy's is $500 or $600 a month. It doesn't take a lot of money to change the quality of your life, and that's our goal. To get you to the point where the money you put aside for retirement is throwing off enough money that you can choose. You can work if you want to, but you don't have to. That's financial independence. Now, we work in 7 steps, and we kind of weave them together to create a plan customized for you. I'm going to rip through these real quickly, so if any questions, just stop me and we can talk about them. Step 1 is called Inspect What You Expect. This is an online tool that we offer you for free that helps you examine your income versus your expenses. The goal here is help you find money that maybe you didn't know you had. Step 2 is increasing your cash flow. Now, how would you define cash flow?
Cash flow is how much money I have at the end of the month.
Okay, that's a good definition. We're going to look at monthly cash flow this way. The money comes in, the bills go out. What's left is called your monthly cash flow. We're going to look at how you currently allocate your monthly cash flow to see if there's maybe a better way to pay down debt today and save for retirement tomorrow. When you file your taxes, do you expect a refund or do you pay taxes?
I think I get a refund.
You get a refund. What do you do with the refund?
I usually spend it.
Okay. You know, we spoke to somebody last week, and when asked the same question, he says he gets back between $2,500 to $3,000. And we said, so what you're telling us is that you're giving the government your money, they're going to hold it for a year, and they're going to give it back to you at no interest. And he said, that doesn't make any sense. And we said, you know, it doesn't. Step 3 is a debt eliminator. Do you have debt?
Yeah, I have some debt.
You have some debt. Is that a problem for you?
Yeah, it is.
It is. This is a case study of a family with typical debt. Credit cards, car loans, and a mortgage. Because of the size of their debt and income level, they're only able to make the minimum payments. At that rate, it would have taken them almost 27 years to get rid of their debt. Using a debt eliminator, they were able to eliminate their debt in half the time. It was same debt, same payment, and no refinancing. They were then able to take that payment and put it towards retirement savings, and ended up with almost $500,000. We'll talk more about this when we get back together. Step 4 is an emergency fund. Do you have an emergency fund?
No, I don't.
That's bad. Rule of thumb is 3 to 6 months of living expenses. The rule of thumb is we want to get to 3 to 6 months. 4 things to remember about an emergency fund. It should be safe, so keep it in the bank, not on a shoebox in your closet. It should be liquid, so don't put it in a CD or a bond. It should be systematic, so if you can, have it transferred from your paycheck or from one account to another on a regular basis. 4, it should be separate. You know as well as I do that any money in your checking account is fair game. It's going to get spent. So you keep your emergency fund separate, out of sight, out of mind. So safe, liquid, systematic, and separate. Step 5 is protecting what you have. What they're talking about here is life insurance. Do you have life insurance?
I do.
You do. How much is it?
I think it's about 100,000.
100,000. Is all of it or part of it from your job?
Yes, all of it.
Let me ask you something. If you leave your job, does it go away?
I don't know. I think maybe it does.
You want to check with HR on that. You know, it's very important to help those we leave behind. We want to make sure that our family doesn't have to change their lifestyle just because we're gone. We also want to make sure that kids can go to school even if we aren't here. Step 6. Step 6 is the biggest one. And if you listen to me, it could change the quality of your life. This is the one that everyone likes the best. Step 6 is building a long-term income or long-term savings. Now there are 2 elements at play here. 2 financial battles you have to win the money game. Because if you don't incorporate these, now I'm going to be strong with you. The chance of becoming financially independent probably won't happen. And if it does, it's way out there. So here are the 2 battles you have to win. 1 is the inflation battle. You'll see why in a minute. And 2 is the tax battle. It's not what you make, it's what you keep. Taxes will hurt you if you're not employed, if you're not careful. So let's talk about inflation. Have you heard of Rule of 72?
No.
Okay, it's very interesting. Let me tell you about it. If you take the rate you're saving at, say, 4%, and you divide that into the number 72, that will tell you how many years it will take for your money to double. 472 is 18. So every 18 years, your money will double. Here's the example. Let's say you have $100 in an account that earns 4%. And if you leave it and it grows at 4%, in 18 years it will double to $300. What happens in another 18 years at 4%? Doubles again at $400. Here's the problem. 36 years from now, will $400 buy what it does now?
No.
No. That's inflation. So if people are saving, where are they saving? Banks, credit unions, and fixed accounts. Well, they're probably not even getting 4%. You can see what's happening. Money is growing, but inflation is growing much quicker. They're losing purchasing power, and they may never retire. That's a big, big problem. The solution is to help them obtain a potentially better interest rate. Say a person gets 6 or 12%. Let's say you're 29 years old and you have $10,000. 472 is 18. So that in $10,000 grows in 36 years to $40,000. You're 65, the kids are gone, the house is paid for, and you want to retire. Well, you've got $40,000 in your name. How long is that going to last you? A year? Maybe a little longer if you're really frugal. And then you're a breeder at Walmart. But here's the problem. We've run out of time. Who wants to work past 65? The only thing we could have changed is the interest rate. And here's the $1,000,000 question. If you could have 6 or 12% instead of 4%, would you now have greater financial independence? The answer is yes. Look at this. At 6%, our money doubles every 12 years. At 8%, it doubles every 9 years. And at 12%, it doubles every 8 years. So at age 65, you've got $640,000. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Yeah. The only difference between this guy and this guy is the interest rate. It's not more money in more time. Same age, same amount of money. The only difference is the interest rate. But of course, this guy, $40,000. Now, isn't that a pretty important principle you're drawing? This could change the quality of your life. And you know what? It's not about having $10,000. The key is saving a little bit on a monthly basis at a decent interest rate. If you will save for you at a decent interest rate, there may be a time when you'll not be out earning your money, but your money is out earning you. That's pretty awesome, huh?
Yeah.
So the $1,000,000 question is, Where can I get a decent rate of return, but yet have a protection of principal? We are actually guaranteed not to lose money. Actually, there are 3 different strategies. I'm going to give you a synopsis on each one, and you tell me which one makes the most sense for you. And I'll know what's suitable for you when we get back together. First is a fixed rate approach. You get a guaranteed fixed rate, but it's a low rate. Probably 2%, 1%, maybe less, which may be risky because of inflation. The second approach is the other end of the spectrum, the stock market of mutual funds, where you have a potential for higher growth, but with a greater risk of losing your money. And a lot of people have because it's been pretty dicey lately. The third way is the index strategy. All your savings is protected, so you don't lose money. All interest earned is also protected. The interest is linked to what the S&P 500 stock index does, which for the past 25 years has averaged almost 10% a year. Of these 3, makes the most sense for you. You know, it's a very popular strategy. Let's talk a minute about it. You've heard about the S&P 500, right?
Sure.
Yeah, the S&P 500 is the 500 most widely held companies in the U.S., representing over 100 groups, such as technology, healthcare, utilities, etc. In fact, the S&P 500 represents about 70% of the total American economy. But get this, the S&P has averaged almost 10% a year for the last 25 years. If you had invested in the S&P 500 25 years ago and averaged almost 10% a year, you'd be happy, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Now, when we get back together, if we determine that an index strategy is suitable for you, I'll then explain the specific products, costs, floors, and caps, and other terms and conditions. But for now, let me give you an overview of how the index strategy works, and all interest earned is linked to what the S&P 500 does, up to a cap, for example, 12%, but without any of the downside risk associated with putting your money directly into the stock market. You see, our money is protected from any market loss. At the same time, you participate in the growth of the S&P 500 up to a cap, for example, of 12%, with a protection from any downside market risk. That should be pretty important, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's an example. Let's say that a few years back, you contributed $10,000 in the index strategy. Now, let's say in the first year, the S&P did 10%. Now you have $11,000. Now, let's say in the second year, it did 10% again. Now you have $12,100. In the third year, the S&P drops 20%. But now, instead of your account dropping 20% to $9,600, it remains at $12,000. So you can see why the index approach is quickly becoming one of the most popular. And you can see why. One of the best ways to win a rate of return in an inflation battle is to be able to get potentially higher growth, yet protect your principal from any downside market loss. But you can't just win a rate of return battle and forget about taxes. In fact, I'm going to show you an example that will shock you in how important it is to employ both a rate of return battle and a tax battle. Let's say that 30 years ago there was a guy that was 30 years old and he wanted to have $1 million when he was 60. Now he didn't understand any of this. So he just goes to the bank and says, Mr. Banker, what do I have to put aside every month so I can have $1 million when I'm 60? Well, back then interest rates were 5%. And right now they're 1, 2, probably less. But back then they were 5%. Well, the banker figured it out and said, what you have to do is put in exactly $1,639.29 a month at 5% for 30 years, and you'll have your money. Well, he was totally discouraged. He left the bank and never saved a dime. He's now a breeder at Walmart. We've seen him, right? Now, what if we could have taught him how to win these 2 battles, the rate of return battle and a tax battle? Look how it drops that number. It's almost unbelievable. Let's win one at a time, the rate of return. Let's say you could average 10% instead of 5%. It takes that number clear down, it's $900 a month. However, can most people save $900 a month?
No.
No, probably not. However, that's $700 less than this guy. That's significant, right? Now, what if we help him put his money away where it can't be taxed while it grows? So with tax deferral, what does he have to put away? Look at this, $438 a month. Now, you know people that can put aside $438 a month?
Sure.
So a lot of people. You could probably do that too. See, having it is not a big deal. See, it's not so much putting away a ton. It's about putting away what you can at a decent interest rate, reducing taxes, and avoiding loss of principal. In fact, in step 6, when we're done, a person knows how and when they will potentially be totally financially independent. And if we do it right, we can literally save years of that retirement date. It's really easy. Let me ask you, if you were totally independent right now, and you had enough in your nest egg, so that every month you had enough that you didn't have to go to work anymore, what would you be doing? What are your dreams? What are your goals? What would you be doing? That's great. Now think about it. If you're financially independent, you have options, and that's the point. You can do what you want, when you want, and how you want. In fact, it was interesting. The other day we went through the implementation phase with a client. That's our second visit. And the wife was so excited, she got up and says, you know what? I could go door to door, asking my neighbors when they were going to become financially independent. And you know what? They wouldn't know, but I do. At that moment, she and her husband became one. That's exciting. That's X6. Step 7 is estate planning. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to give you legal advice, just some common sense advice. Do you have a will?
Yes, I
You
do.
When was it updated?
Oh boy, I can't remember.
Well, you really should see if you can get it updated. Do you have a living will?
No.
No. A living will lets people know what your choice is at the end of your life. If you have one, nobody has to decide when you live or die, whether you live or die. This should also be gotten online or at Office Depot. It's really very expensive. So these are the 7 steps. Pretty cool, right? If you're going to get 2 of the 7 steps that are most important to you, let me just go over them for you. These are the 7 steps. Inspect what you expect, increase cash flow, eliminate debt, develop an emergency fund, protect what you have, or build long-term financial independence, and finally, estate planning. Which of the 2 would be the most important for you?
Well, I like eliminate debt for sure,
Okay.
and estate planning, I think.
Estate planning?
Yeah.
How about retirement planning?
Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah. So let me tell you what happens now. I'm going to take some information. We have a very sophisticated software system back in the office. We input your information and it comes up with a customized plan tailored to fit your needs. Let me tell you what this is going to cost you. So next time I come back, I expect to see a big plate of hot chocolate chip cookies made by you and a big glass of milk. Nah, I'm just kidding. This costs you nothing. The company we represent pays a finder's fee or commission if you go forward with a program. Now, 100% of every dollar you put in goes to your benefit. You don't pay 1 cent in commission or management fee. Now, let me ask you 2 questions. If when I come back, you're satisfied with what I have and it meets your needs and you're comfortable with it, do you have any problem in doing business with me?
No, it sounds really good.
Great. Listen, if we do business, do you have any problem with referring 3 or 4 people to me to provide the same service that I'm going to provide for you?
No, I think my sister and a few friends might be interested.
That's wonderful. So you'll give me the names then?
Sure.
Maybe you'll even call them for me to let me speak to them and make an appointment.
Okay.
Thank you.